Love one another. Thank you, Reverend Retta Morgan. Yes. So this month we are looking at the idea of shifting out of race consciousness into grace consciousness. We spoke a little bit about it last week at our beautiful Easter service that we held here. And to lay the groundwork, even more than we did last week, there are three things that need to be deeply understood. First is the word consciousness. Okay, we use it a lot. And then the term race consciousness. And then finally, we're going to dig into grace consciousness, what that really means. Grace consciousness. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But there's some really deep wisdom here this morning. There really is. It's very expansive, I think. So pay attention. In fact, pay attention as the nuns did in this little story I'm going to tell you. It was in a convent in Ireland, where else, that the 98-year-old Mother Superior lay preparing to make her transition. The nuns gathered around her bed, trying to make her last journey here on earth, the last few moments, peaceful and really comfortable. They tried giving her warm milk to drink, but she refused it. One of the nuns took the glass back to the kitchen, and then remembering a bottle of Irish whiskey that had been given as a gift in Ireland. Don't want to stereotype. My father's from Ireland, so I can say this. It was given as a gift on one Christmas. And so she opened it and generously poured it into the warm milk. Back at the Mother Superior's bed, they held the glass to her lips, and the frail little nun, she drank a little, then she drank a little bit more, and then she drank the whole glass, right down to the last drop. And her eyes brightened. The nuns thought it would be a good opportunity to have one last talk with their spiritual leader, to get those words of wisdom. And they asked her, please give us some words of wisdom before you leave. And as the Mother Superior raised herself on the bed onto one elbow, they all leaned in to hear what her final wisdom would be. And they were all on pins and needles waiting for the spiritual leader. And she looked at them, and she looked deeply into their eyes and said to them, whatever you do, don't get rid of that cow. So we have some better wisdom here for you today than that very weak joke. But I promise you, this is a little bit better. So consciousness, first of all, consciousness. So we define the word consciousness as several things, and they would be, these are all, we talk about our consciousness, so it's all of these things. It's not one thing. It's our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our values, our attitudes, our words, and our actions. All of it together make up our consciousness, and it's the totality of who we are. But it starts with our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs. Our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs. And why is this so important to know? Because this is the place from which we create. We create from our consciousness. We create from our beliefs, our feelings, and our thoughts. We create. We know this. We're creative beings, imbued with this divine quality of creativity. We talk about it every week. The infinite is always creating. It's this one pure action and activity, is to create out of its own nature more of life, more of all that is. If we believe that it's a oneness, it's a unity, and there is nothing outside of this omnipresence, then everything must be created from it. And if it's created from it, it must have within it a divine spark, that God essence. So each and every one of us has that. And we have the ability to create our lives through our thoughts, through our feelings, combine them together, and that brings the consciousness, and that leads us then to race consciousness, which is used a lot in Ernest Holmes' textbook and in all of his books. And it's one teaching that can be misunderstood, and as I said last week, it has nothing to do with the individual's color, ethnic origin, but rather it refers to this: the accumulation of all collective thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values, attitudes, words, and action of humanity. Can you imagine every thought that has ever been thought, every feeling that has ever been felt? It doesn't go anywhere. It is part of this infinite collective race consciousness, or collective unconscious, if you will. And Ernest Holmes spoke quite a bit about race consciousness. And here are a few of the things that he wrote in his textbook, Science of Mind. Race suggestion is a very real thing, and each of us carries around with us many impressions which we never consciously thought of or experienced. There is a tendency on the part of all of us to reproduce the accumulated subjective experience of the human race. So it doesn't mean that it's just our thought alone. We are individualized expressions of this one life, but so is everyone else. So as I said, everything that has ever been thought, said, or done, we are subject to all of it. All of it. If we believe it truly in oneness, then there can't be a separation. And where is anything going to go? An emotion. It has to be in this collective field, this race consciousness. Do we understand that a little bit? I'm going to get into it a little bit more today. So let's look for just a few moments at some race conscious beliefs. Now, you may not personally hold these, but many people do, and you've probably heard them. It's coming from that collective consciousness. So, we have a lot of beliefs around a lot of things. A lot of beliefs around aging. Let's take that for our topic today. So, as we age, do you believe that we stay vital and spry and energetic and filled with life? Or do you believe, as many do, that we deteriorate, we fall apart, we become useless? It goes on. And then from that, we've made kind of like jokes about it, but it's a symbol of, these jokes are a symbol of what we really, this consciousness in the United States, what we feel. And it could be like this: you know when you're getting older, when everything that works hurts, and what doesn't hurt doesn't work. You might feel, I'll give you a few minutes. You might feel like the morning after, yet you haven't had a night before. Your little black book contains names ending in MD. You look forward to a dull evening. Your knees buckle, but your belt won't. I like this one. Your back goes out more than you do. How about, I know, these are really bad, but it's really, you sink your teeth into a steak and they stay there. Oh, that's... I just got my mother, she just came through, she had false teeth. Oh, God. Gotta get that image out. But these are race consciousness beliefs. So, they're about aging. But we make jokes about them, but a lot of it is like people walk around and they hold these beliefs and they create that. So race consciousness beliefs about many different things. So I had this put away somewhere, but Greg Braden, who's a New Thought metaphysician and quantum physics expert and wonderful human being, really brilliant, he told the story of a village in Asia where 100-year-olds rode around on bicycles, vibrant, healthy, and alive, And on the day, if this is the place, we all gonna move there. On the day that they were going to transition, they would throw a party. And then they would leave the party, go home, go to sleep, and die. I mean, why not? If we can think of every opposite thing that's going to take place, why not the reverse? We can achieve anything we dream if we really, really believe it. If we believe it and if we think it. Combine that together. You get the idea that is important because we are subject to these beliefs. Even if we never had that thought, we are still subject to it. It's coming at us in many different ways. It's coming to us in energy. It's coming to us through media. It's coming to us through hearing relatives talk about, oh, ain't it awful? It goes on and on. And Ernest Holmes wrote, again, in Science of Mind, the collective unconscious, this is like the Akashic Records, the collective unconscious contains a record of all human events that have ever transpired. We are all, more or less, subject to this collective thought since it acts as a powerful race suggestion. The sum total of all erroneous human belief binds until the individual mentality lifts himself above the law of averages, which is Thomas Trower's term for race consciousness, into a higher law of spiritual individualism. So this is the G part, raising ourselves into that higher vibration of spiritual creation, bringing the spiritual part. So the sum total of all erroneous human belief binds us until we can raise ourselves up into that spiritual realm of knowing that all things are possible. All limitless possibilities are always present. Are we tapping into it? Are we believing it? Or are we limiting ourselves through our thinking? We might think it one moment, yes, I have limitless possibilities, and we pray for it and we know it. And then the race consciousness and our own subconscious kicks in and doubt appears. And we know that doubt is a block to all that beautiful good that is awaiting us. When we doubt it, as Mary's reading spoke of that penny, is our faith in that, or is our faith in something so much more powerful and abundant than we could ever imagine, beyond what we can imagine? Holmes also wrote, there is, of course, a much deeper seat of knowledge than race consciousness, which is the spirit. Direct contact with the spirit is illumination. And this is where the grace consciousness comes in. This is what we explored a little bit last Sunday. All we need to do is shift, this is all, to shift from race to grace consciousness. And to do that, we bring that G for God and we put it in front of the race consciousness. And we move into that grace consciousness, the infinite givingness of God, which is just giving of itself. If it's always creating, it's creating out of its nature of good. And we are the receivers as well as the givers of that good when we're in that flow. That's what being in the flow means. We're receiving and giving. And that's what being in a grace consciousness means. Holmes tells us, the one whose thought is the most godlike, that is, the truest, the highest, the most noble, the most complete, the most peaceful, will be the best healer. When thought reaches a higher degree of perfection, as the race consciousness unfolds and evolves, it will bring out a still greater development of life than we know. So when we add God to our consciousness, when we deepen into that spirituality of knowing there's a higher power, whatever you want to call it, is a higher power, this creative genius that created all that is, was, and never shall be. We move out of, we transcend being stuck in, completely immersed in race consciousness. Those beliefs that just don't serve us. They don't make our life any better, and then we feed into it, believe it, and it with the aging thing, and then we feel that whole thing. Well, I'm getting old, so I can't do this. Well, you know what? It's like stepping out. Getting up and stepping out in spite of any condition. And that's the thing. In spite of any condition, don't attribute it to a human race consciousness thought. Because that's what we do. Well, this is hurting, I must be getting old. Well, this is happening, I must be getting old. You know, and you could attribute it to any other kind of race. Does anyone have any race beliefs around anything else? Any other subjects?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, it's what's coming forward. And
give me a race consciousness belief. Give me a belief.
All right, staying fast is for sleeping all the time.
Okay, so sleeping all the time means?
You'll be sane.
You'll be sane. Okay, well, we know that that's not true, right? There's one mind, that's divine mind, and that's God's mind right here, right now, and that's our mind. Another one could be money doesn't grow on trees. Go ahead. You can say that?
Well, there's not enough in the world.
What's that?
There's not enough.
There's not enough in the world. Wow. That one plays out in every way, shape, and form. Anything you watch on TV or read in the newspaper or talk with people, it's oh, ain't it awful? There's not enough. There's not enough. And there's so many others. But we can really rise above that when we know that God truly is our source and supply of all good. But we have to know it at a real deep level, to have that faith, to step out no matter what the condition is, knowing that the universe always provides. We say it, let's prove it to ourselves. I mean, I don't want to have to go through giving up every single thing that I own again and every pet and person to do this again. I'm asking God for a nice, easy way. You know, I've done that a couple of times in my life, and it stinks. I could say something stronger, but I won't. I'm on video here. But it doesn't feel good. But then you're almost naked, and you say, the universe always provides. I believe this, I know this. Universe, make it a mantra. The universe always provides. It always provides. That's it. It always provides. And that way we can move into attracting things into our lives that we never could have planned on. That's the beauty of it. An example of evolved race consciousness in Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes Wright again. And you gotta remember, this is great. He wrote this in the 1920s, okay? So just listen to this. An instant of race consciousness is the belief that one more than 40 years of age is easily fatigued, cannot engage in strenuous exercise of any kind, and must work fewer hours each day. This race suggestion has hypnotized the entire world. Only a few people past 40 dare to undertake new endeavors and engage in activities with the same enthusiasm as a 25-year-old. So you think we've evolved a little bit since the 20s?
No.
It's almost 100 years ago.
Just change the age, right?
Change the number, but it's still, you don't even, yeah, it's a belief. It was a belief held then, and now maybe it's moved to, I don't know. What does it move to? I don't even know because I don't pay attention. I don't want a number, right? We don't put a number in our head because when we put a number in our head, so I don't get on scales. I don't want numbers in my head. Because then all this stuff comes in. I have not been in, anyone that knows me knows they don't weigh me in doctor's offices. They want to do a procedure, I go like this, and I tell them, do not tell me. I don't want a number because of any kind of race consciousness thing, belief within me that can be triggered. So I don't want to know. It's my choice. And I don't have a number for when you get really old. I don't know. I think I'm a senior now. I don't know. I have no idea. What do you think of yourself? You know, check back. What are you thinking? So in fact, if every thought that you've ever, think of this, so has your family and your family's beliefs and all ancestral beliefs. They all leave imprints in our DNA in us. And the sum total of what the whole world has thought. And then we wonder why we don't have clarity. Two people having a conversation, especially if you're in relationship, like romantic, say, relationship or intimate relationship, it's like 10 people in the room. And then you wonder why they can't understand each other. Because of all these filters we have. And it's all coming from race consciousness. It's coming from all of our beliefs. It's in our subconscious. It's coming from beliefs. It's coming from what we've heard as teeny children and forgotten. There's so much more, though. There's so much more to you than just that. And just as you are being acted upon by your own memories and the mind of history and your environment, you are being acted upon by the mind of God at all times. This is the part we don't want to forget. We don't want to forget there is a higher power that has our back, always. It has our back. And while you may be experiencing the effects of race consciousness and your own beliefs, but today you can begin to change them because you are a powerful creator. You are a powerful creator. And how do we change them? Simply by choosing a God thought, a divine thought, a higher vibrational thought. Engage in some of the practices that we teach here, through the prayers, through the affirmation work, through whatever spiritual chanting, whatever spiritual nourishment that you give to yourself. It moves you out of one vibration into a higher vibration, which then, as we know, attracts into our lives like vibration. So the universe is not out to get you, it is out to give to you. That's a beautiful way to shift. No one's out to get us. The universe is for us, to give to us. So this is how we can develop. These are some of the ways. We're going to talk about it all month, of developing that grace consciousness, of moving into a place where we're not bound by these thoughts, these beliefs, whether they're ours or we're just subject to them, that we can still stay focused on divine mind, divine ideas, which are implanted in us. They are our true eternal self, the part of us that will never die, that is eternal, and that knows the absolute truth. That's the beauty of New Thought. That's the beauty of religious science, science of mind. It's empowering because it's giving you your life back. It's giving you the option to choose a higher thought, to go to a place where limitless possibilities exist, and I expect them every day. And I love the word miracles. It's a word that people, in spiritual realms will say, there's no miracles in God. Of course there are no miracles in God, but I love the word miracles because it means something is taking place that I could never have thought of. And so every day I wake up and I expect miracles in my life, and only good to follow them. I love that. I love that. So let's just take a breath together. Let's just do a quick prayer, just to affirm and sink that down into us. So let's just know that there is one power, the infinite power of good, forever expressing itself into form, into activity. And this love, this perfection that is divine, is light expressing. It is the divine energy beyond all human comprehension. It is the creator of the galaxies and so much more. There is nothing outside of this infinite creative genius. And that genius creates in harmony with itself. It creates in divine right order. It creates in clarity. There is no confusion in God, and there is no repetition in God. There is only the newness, the fresh creative power. And that fresh creative power is within all of life. And each and every one of us has within us the capability and the possibility to create a life of joy, a life of abundance, a life of peace, a life of limitless possibilities, because that is the absolute truth of our being. We are beautiful creations and creatures of the infinite light of the divine. And that divinity is alive and is surging and urging each one to move into a higher and higher realm of existence, a higher way of living, choosing that higher thought, remembering whose you are, a child of the divine. I give thanks for all this good. I give thanks for this joyful gathering, spiritual center. I give thanks for each and every person here, knowing that this group consciousness that's here in this room, right here, right now, is creating good and more good, love and more love. And I am so grateful to know this, to claim this, to feel this. And knowing that this word is complete, I release it into that intelligent law of divine mind where this word becomes manifest in each one's life. And I am so grateful to speak this word, to know this truth, and to say, and so it is.
So it is.
Woohoo!